We're on top of it.
Hurt in a car wreck? Call 265-1100. That's 265-1100.
Meteorologist Cedric Haynes, Local 3 weather coverage you can count on.
You know, there are certainly so many people watching the show this morning who either directly or know someone who is struggling with whether it's PTSD, perhaps they are one of those first responders or veterans struggling with an issue. Perhaps they've had some trauma in other ways in their lives, and they're searching and searching for ways to help, and what they're really wanting is a circle of support around them. Well, over at Dallas Bay Baptist Church, they would love to say, come on over and let us help you. Steve Mitchell joins us. He is kind of the face this morning of the Combat Recovery, Reboot Combat Recovery, and he joins us this morning. Steve, sorry for my tongue tie there, but good to see you.
That's okay, and thank you for having me on.
So really what we're talking about this morning and focuses on two different aspects of recovery. One is for those veterans and first responders, that is your combat recovery. But then you have another one that is just trauma related that could be for anyone, I guess, watching our show this morning. Is that right?
That's correct, and we are launching that trauma reboot class for the first time on February 2nd. So we're excited to be able to offer it to the general public. Reboot has been doing this since 2011, and they realized that trauma doesn't just affect military and first responders. Trauma happens to everybody if they've lived long enough, and this is a way to reach those folks also.
So what you're doing, and if for folks watching this morning who might think, hey, I might be interested in this or know someone who is, but Saudi Daisy is kind of a far hike for me, you've got the classes taking place at your church, but then coming up towards the end of the month, January 31, you'll do one in Collegedale. February 7th, you branch out into Dalton. But what they're doing is they're coming in classes of about 15 people, and they're walking weekly through with your volunteers who've been trained, and it's a biblical look at dealing with trauma.
Yeah, that's correct, and I think that's what sets us apart from other post-traumatic stress programs, especially what's offered at the VA. This is peer-led. Spouses are also included in what we do at Reboot Combat Recovery. So it's a different approach than what other organizations have tried. So if you've tried other things and don't feel like you've succeeded, you can give Reboot Combat Recovery a shot.
I think I heard you tell me that you yourself served, you were a lieutenant colonel. And without getting into too much detail, you kind of saw some things with the way things were being handled that you were observing with some of the help for veterans coming back, and you thought, you know, there's got to be kind of another way that we can add on to this. So this personalized approach really called to you.
It did. So we've been suffering, the statistics typically are staying around 22 military veterans a day are taking their own life, and that's not good. We need to do something about that, and this gives me a way to try to lower that number. We had one member at Dallas Bay that was a Tennessee Air National Guard, Senior Master Sergeant Jamie Smith, and he took his life in March of 15. We dedicate our classes to him and his family, and we just want to reduce that number of military suicides that happen every day.
You know, the fact that you're able to include the spouses in this conversation, I would think is huge, because to live with someone who is struggling with this type of PTSD is no small thing. I mean, that individual spouse needs his or her own outlet and support group as well.
That's true, and what we have seen and what Reboot has seen, nationwide and internationally is, the spouse, they're going through the same thing that their service members going through, and they have very little understanding of why. Most of the time, a service member does not want to share with their significant other, their spouse, what happened to them to make them act this way. A lot of people feel like, if I tell you this, you're going to look at me like I'm a monster, and so I don't want to share it with you. When they were following orders given to them by people in higher places.
Right. We've got a minute left. I want to stress a couple of points that you wanted to let people know about. There is no cost for this. This is the combat recovery is a nationwide, international effort, so there are funds there. When people go to rebootrecovery.com, when they choose your location at Dallas Bay, the monies get funneled to you to cover your costs, correct?
I don't think they can choose the location if they're donating, but they can probably put a memo in there.
Okay.
They can go to rebootrecovery.com to sign up, and there's a list of locations of the classes that are being held. Also, I didn't mention this option. They do some virtual classes if somebody's not ready to show up in person.
Very important. Steve, I wish we had more time, but we don't this morning. But thank you so much for sharing this with our viewers. It's a once a week, 12-week recovery. It does have that biblical focus. Again, you can sign up by going to rebootrecovery.com. And I guess if you want to call them out at Dallas Bay Baptist Church, they'd be happy to talk to you as well. Thanks again.
Yes, ma'am.
Seems like CBD stores are popping up on every corner. Make sure you choose a knowledgeable vendor you can trust.
In 3, 2,